Hey guys, Omni here. We are back this week with another reaction to New Rockstar's breakdown of WandaVision episode 8. If you haven't seen my reaction to the episode, it is up on the channel now. So there's definitely going to be some spoilers in this, guys. I'm looking forward to it. I've really been enjoying watching these videos with you guys and bouncing off of you all. Getting some ideas, seeing what all we missed, what all we got. It's a lot of fun. I'm glad we kind of started doing it. We just finished our live stream discussion earlier today. Spent about 2 hours just spitballing a bunch of different ideas, answering questions with you guys. It's a lot of fun. Really love doing that too. So it's up on the channel now. So if you want to check that out, full playback is available for you guys. So yeah, let's go ahead and pull this up and see what we missed.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of WandaVision episode 8, a trip through history that probably broke your heart somehow. I'm here for you.
Definitely.
We're gonna go back through this episode frame by frame for all the visual details you missed, the Latin you need translated, and the increasingly hopeless fan theories that you need evidence to justify. Here we go. Episode titled Previously On, so we gotta start in the Previously On segment. The audio mix boosts the violent hits of Wanda's past, the blocks, Thanos' backhand, the prying of the stone from Vision's head. Just a reminder that Wanda's past has been brutal. She has suffered so much, but all this suffering is so that she can learn a key lesson about grief that is actually
sad, man.
Persevering. You'll notice the Marvel title card fades
and the best line in the MCU.
As we open on this Salem witch trial. Sort of like Agatha's in the comics, but here, trial by witches. When your own coven doesn't want you, you know you f***ed up. Leading this coven is Agatha's mother, Evanora Harkness, wearing the brooch. Its three figures resemble the three graces of Greek mythology, though given this is a coven, it could reflect the three witches of Macbeth or the three fates of Greek mythology, which does connect with Agatha plucking Wanda's hair to represent Wanda's lifeline. Evanora accuses her daughter.
You have betrayed your coven, stole knowledge above
It's a good catch.
station. I did not break your rules. They simply bent to my power.
Similar to Stephen Strange, who learned sorcery too quickly and fast-tracked himself to Sorcerer Supreme by reading forbidden texts on magic from the Dark Dimension. In Agatha's case, her forbidden textbook was The Darkhold, a book many of us believe is actually from the Camartage Library, with
confirmed
hexagonal slots, though
somewhere?
That open slot visible in the Doctor Strange movie was not for the Darkhold, it was the Book of Cagliostro, which was just not there in that shot. And the witches chant in Latin.
No, I cannot control it.
Roughly translating to death to the monster of nature. So this means they view her as a freak of nature that needs to be put down, a natural threat that is beyond witch cultural norms. It's also notable that their spells are in Latin. Most spells found in real-world tomes are in that language. And I see this as tying the MCU's witchcraft to Christian medieval history, which means all that fire and brimstone of Christian dogma could come with it. Agatha's purple magic bursts
still hanging
out
out.
of her, seemingly without her control, as if an independent sentience is protecting her. And so she's able to drain the life force from the others, and notice how that magic rests in her palms in a mix of purple and blue, suggesting she has the power of all 9. And these also become the 2 colors that are reflected in her purple and blue wardrobe at the end of the episode. Evanora's blue magic forms this crown around her head, one that Agatha does not gain when she drains her mother. Though in Wanda's vision of her future as the Scarlet Witch, her tiara does appear on her head. This might tell us what Agatha wants from Wanda, the crown that is worn by the dominant witch. And this whole royal dispute is backdropped by these waterfalls, which do
I feel like that
parallel the
might
Wakandan
be
warrior
a little
falls, where
bit of a
royals
stretch.
do fight for that throne, which interestingly is also passed along via a kind of purple colored sorcery. And Agatha leaves us in a trail of purple magic that dissolves into the
I wonder if those are linked at all.
No, I know. She does look shocked to meet the real us.
So last week, I wondered if Senor Scratchy could be Nicholas Scratch, Agatha's son, transmuted into Pietro. But after this, I am now back to my first instinct that this rabbit could be Agatha's husband, Ralph. We know this rabbit is important, folks. Agatha says the real us? She feeds him an insect, which he gobbles up, despite rabbits being herbivores. He sits right beside the open Darkhold, and notice how Wanda cannot look away from this rabbit in this moment.
I need you. Hey, Wanda.
but I got more on this Rabbit and Ralph later. She points out these runes that are protection spells. One has this M shape, which you could see Agatha's house here as a House of M within the House of M inspired story that this is. And she explains fake Pietro or Fietro.
That was you.
No, it wasn't literally me, just my eyes and ears. A Crystallu possession. Necromancy was a non-starter since your real brother's body is on another continent.
So earlier this week, Kevin Feige said Evan Peters' casting was, to use his words, just another way that certain people were messing around with Wanda. Yeah, I'm sure the Fox Quicksilver fans will accept that. It's also interesting how Feige said certain people, another hint that Agatha might not be working alone. Agatha also confirms that she did not create the Hex, but just rather crashed the party that Wanda started.
I sensed this place. So many spells cast all at once. I couldn't make heads or tails of it.
Which begs the question, if she could sense the Hex, shouldn't also the Sorcerer Supreme Doctor Strange be able to sense it? I assume he could be on his way. And she controls the cicada.
Tenio Imperium Animi.
In Latin, roughly, I have control of the animal. Look, Latin heads, I know it doesn't match up. It's hard to hear exactly what they're saying and they don't give subtitles. And then she transmutes the cicada into a bird.
Formator Figura.
Which roughly in Latin, transform your appearance. And then she uses Wanda's hair to project her back into her memories.
Repete. Memoria.
Which literally I think is just remember memory. And remember, Doctor Strange similarly plucked one of Thor's hairs out of his head to look at Odin back in Thor Ragnarok. But here,
Gosh,
the hair
watching him do
extends
like
into this
the hand
lifeline,
magic
bisecting
is,
this
I
door
love
with
it.
9
The visual
circles,
effect.
which might reflect those 9 members of the Coven: Agatha, Evanora, and the 7 others.
Or the
They
9
could also
realms.
reflect the 9 circles of hell in Dante's Inferno.
Or
in
that.
which Dante and Virgil traverse and observe each ring of hell. The bottommost layer is frozen like Sokovia is. But listen to the music as they enter this apartment. Yeah, those cello notes sounds a lot like the tragic porch theme from the end of Infinity War, moments after Wanda lost Vision and dusted into the void. So we find out what the sitcoms are all about. The Maximoff family love to watch sitcom DVDs instead of, oh, I don't know, fleeing the country. So what do we got here? I Love Lucy, Bewitched, Addams Family, Who's the Boss, I Dream of Jeannie, Malcolm in the Middle. Well, this was in 1999. Malcolm in the Middle season 1 didn't come out on DVD until 2002. Oh, shut up. This is sweet. And notice what her mom does.
Don't look.
Early release bootleg.
That is the Sokovian greeting that Wanda and Vision brought up jokingly in episode 1.
This is the traditional Sokovian greeting of hospitality. Guess who?
Oh, is that my host behind me?
It certainly is.
Shut up, it's sweet. So Wanda singles out her favorite TV episode as The Dick Van Dyke Show, Season 2, Episode 21, It May Look Like a Walnut. Now, technically, that's the 20th episode to air that season, but the DVD set reorders it to number 21. But this isn't just any episode, folks. In this episode, Rob watches a scary sci-fi TV program about aliens and glowing walnuts, about people losing their thumbs because the aliens don't want humans to be able to make technology that
I told you guys. I told you it was aliens.
In a Twilight Zone scenario in which this seems to have come true, this is exactly what Westview is for Wanda. It is a classic sitcom that also has elements of the Twilight Zone that seems to be weirdly obsessed with flying saucers and aliens, and with Hayward seems to be connected to a plot about playing God with tech out of paranoia of alien threats. And meanwhile, their descriptions of this genre match the genre-bending aspect of WandaVision itself, along with where this show might be going.
Shenanigan is like problem, but more silly than scary, but can sometimes be a little scary.
A silly mission that always becomes fun.
By the end of the episode, you realize it was all a bad dream.
But then, boom, you looking for this, the home gets bombed. And then we see that Stark Industries
That
bombshell
moment
lead
is
away.
so
The story
real.
told in Age of Ultron,
Too
and
real.
of course it beeps. The same sound effect and blinking red light as that Stark toaster in the commercial. But interestingly, this bomb failed to detonate not by chance, but rather Wanda using a probability hex, one of Wanda's chaos magic powers in the comics, and a major detail confirming that Wanda's powers did not come fully from the Mind Stone, but existed in a lower powered form from birth, meaning this is in her DNA. She's got a mutant gene, folks. But then notice behind the bomb, Dick Van Dyke says on the TV,
"Oh, I must scream. Oh, what a night."
And I am legally obligated to point out every mention of the word nightmare just because Nightmare ends up being in this. Then to the Hydra lab, where Wanda tells Agatha,
We wanted to change the world.
started as a political ideal, but Wanda is now capable of doing this literally. And then I love this transition. The camera pulls back into the chamber, but just kidding, we're actually seeing a mirror surface, but no camera reflected in that mirror. I keep mentioning references to Contact in these breakdowns, but this impossible mirror shot is also a famous maneuver from that movie. It's one of my favorite shots ever in movies. And in that scene, that was a flashback to a childhood trauma, just like this is for Wanda. Now, this Mind Stone oddly seems to select Wanda. It washes yellow radiation over her, and her eyes reflect the silhouette of her future form, or maybe an alternate reality form. Either way, a true Nexus being, the Scarlet Witch. This actually could be the figure we saw briefly in Wanda's eyes at the end of episode 6, the moment she hexpanded and for the first time threatened this universe with a House of M style rewrite. And then when they try to play back the video, it glitches from right before to right after, just like the editing glitches later in Westview. Also, I'm sorry to keep doing this, but this also happens in the movie Contact when external video skips over Ellie's trans-dimensional trip. Seriously, is that damn cameo gonna be Jodie Foster? Wanda watches an episode of The Brady Bunch with Cindy Brady's doll. This is the same doll Vision practiced diaper changing on in episode 3, and then onto the Avengers compound. Again, listen to the music.
Oh, Wanda, moving on up. So where are we now?
The Avengers compound.
Yeah, that music is a dark version of the classic Avengers theme. This is set around the time of Civil War, when she was under lockdown and getting to know Vision, making some pepper cash together. She watches an episode of Malcolm in the Middle where the roof collapses on Bryan Cranston, maybe reflecting how Wanda's hex begins to collapse as the decades progress into that era. And then Vision gives us the amazing line, really the reason these two weirdos are able to fall in love.
But what is grief? If not love, persevering.
I love
Agatha
it.
wipes a tear. Now, this might be more sarcasm, but Wanda isn't looking at her. I think Agatha connected to that. She is so desperate.
Come on, Wanda. You're on the precipice. You're right there. Tell me how you did it. Vision was gone, but you wanted him back.
I wanted him back.
And notice Agatha's face as Wanda leaves. This witch is going through something. I believe Agatha lost someone she loved, and that is why she was so genuinely emotional when she heard Wanda could raise the dead.
You can do that?
You know, I've been looking and listening at these characters for a while, but do you ever wonder what they smell like? I'm super self-conscious about smelling because I used a weird soap for a while. The
Sponsor
brands of
time.
big soap that you're probably using daily are packed with 20. Looks in at Hayward through.
Right.
So at Sword HQ,
we
Wanda
go.
looks in at Hayward through the monitor, just like she did via the drone camera in episode 5. And behind the desk is a star map. Front and center is Gemini, the twins, like Wanda Pietro, Billy, and Tommy. And notice how Hayward calls
there we
Vision
go.
the Vision, which is also how it's listed on the deed. Nice to see the MC.
I mean, the
use
is his first
like
name.
in the comics. And then Hayward shows Wanda Vision's parts. Bit hard to watch. The wiring pulls apart with a slick sound, as if it was sinew and muscle tissue.
Yeah.
And then under that skin, wouldn't you know it, looks like some hexagonal tissue there. So why did Hayward wait to dismantle Vision until now, if Vision has been dead for years? Did he fear that the returned Avengers would try to seize the parts? Did Wakanda not release the body until Shuri and T'Challa blipped back? Well, take a step back and look at this scene. The sword techs are sloppy, yanking Vision apart like an old car. He is a $3 billion sentient weapon, and this looks like Tim the Toolman Taylor's garage. Whoa. And then Hayward basically shows his cards.
Are you sure?
Excuse me?
Not everyone has the kind of power that could bring their soulmate back online. Forgive me. Back to life.
And throughout this, he is watching Wanda closely with a bit of hopefulness, and he tells his men to stand down. Yeah, clearly this is all a show by Hayward. He wants Wanda to take this corpse. Over the past years, he has been trying to reboot Vision thousands of times to no avail. And now that Wanda Maximoff's back, he is butchering Vision, trying to incite Wanda into snatching the body and using her sorcery. Hayward hopes to bring this back online. And when Wanda leaves without Vision's corpse, he's disappointed. He lies to Monica, saying that Wanda did, while throwing Monica at Westview, hoping for a sample of Wanda's magic, which he gets eventually with that Stark drone, getting the fuel for his Project Cataract to reboot Vision, giving us White Vision in the post-credits scene. Now, White Vision is from the Vision Quest comics in the West Coast Avengers series in the 80s, where the Avengers are trying to reassemble Vision's body. The visuals of him on the different tables actually look very similar, but because Vision does not have the same brainwaves that he used to have, he comes back in this soulless white form. In the comics, there's a lot of other characters involved with this, from the Grim Reaper to Wonder Man to Hank Pym to even the Human Torch, and technically Immortus, who is the same person as Kang the Conqueror. Seems like WandaVision might not bring in any of them. Hayward is really just a government villain who wants superheroes he can control as weapons, and the fact that White Vision has a Stark-esque arc reactor in his forehead where the Mind Stone would be echoes the way Tony Stark tried to do this, which led to the folly of Ultron and the
that's
saving
still
grace
creepy.
of the True Vision. This plan is why Hayward here ultimately just puts a price tag on Vision.
I cannot allow you to take $3 billion worth of vibranium just to put it in the ground.
But if you think about it, that is exactly where the vibranium belongs. The vibranium that made Vision was stolen from the soil of Wakanda. Meanwhile, Wanda's plan, it seems like, was to try to bury Vision in that plot he bought for them in Westview, New Jersey. Which, if you think about it, when did he get that deed? He must have done it before they went on the run after Civil War in 2016. He is essentially a guy who got an engagement ring after the first date. In other words, a creep. And Wanda says here,
I can't feel you.
which of course is a callback to Infinity War, when Wanda used her magic in the earlier scene to sense Vision's soul from that Mind Stone, and these were also his final words to her before she destroyed that stone at the end of the movie. And heading to Westview, Wanda drives a red car. It's got a license plate reading Excelsior, which of course is just the New York State motto. It's on all these plates, but also it is Stan Lee's catchphrase. We see John Collins, aka Herb, Sharon Davis, aka Mrs. Hart, Dennis the Mailman, aka Pizza Time,
Pizza time.
Harold Proctor, aka Jones, he puts up an ad for piano lessons. Remember, he played it at the talent show until it was flattened.
That was my grandmother's piano.
And on the deed, Vision's note is outlined in a heart, like the date on the calendar in episode 1, the heart they could not remember the meaning of. And his address, 2800 Sherwood, could be an nod to Sherwood Schwartz, the producer of The Brady Bunch and a bunch of other sitcoms. And it is signed off by the name Kate Weddle, who is an assistant art director on WandaVision. And in her grief, Wanda uses her sorcery to construct this dream home. The house builds in jigsaw chunks, interestingly, evoking the puzzle pieces of Joe Quesada's House of M cover. And this hex spreads like a wave, a reversal of Wanda's admission earlier to feeling like she was caught in the wave, getting toppled over and over. Now she is a seismic event that spreads the wave outward. The Westview Dairy
It's a good
billboard
interpretation.
reversed from the red carton modern ones, the old
snap.
tiny bottles, just like Wanda's glitching milk last episode.
Sugar
and then over on the
snaps.
right, a new ad for Lagos paper towels make cleaning up a snap. Like, you know, the snap that Thanos did. The movie theater marquee changes from Tannhauser Gate, a nod to Blade Runner. That was the warp station referenced in the amazing Tears of Rain monologue.
I still need to
it reads
watch Blade
Big
Runner.
Red and kidnapped, the way these town residents are essentially kidnapped in a big red hex. And inside the house, Wanda recreates Vision
cat.
solely out of yellow magic, due to her magic being amplified by the yellow Mind Stone. And in the TV reflection, you can see Vision's Mind Stone is the last part of him to form. This means that the Vision in Westview is resurrected purely from Wanda's magic and has no corporeal counterpart. Yet he is still real inside the hex, because remember, Hayward was able to track his vibranium decay. All this means that as a Nexus being, Wanda isn't just creating illusions, she's creating real, tangible, alternate realities. And then in the TV studio, behind the stage lights, is the year 2013, which does anchor this final Modern Family sitcom year as the year 2013, even though on the outside world it is 2023. And then outside, final scene, Agatha restrains Billy and Tommy on these choke leashes.
You have no idea how dangerous you are. You're supposed to be a myth, a being capable of spontaneous creation. Here you are, using it to make breakfast for dinner.
Which calls back Wanda failing at Agnes's recipes in episode 1 and just improvising breakfast for dinner. But now
Hey,
looking
I've done
back
that
on it,
hundreds
those
of times,
complex
man.
recipes provided by Agnes might have actually been spells from the Darkhold that Agatha was using to test Wanda. This is why Agatha's so frustrated that rather than following the basics like she had to, Wanda could just skip that textbook. And Agatha ends with,
This is chaos magic, Wanda, and that makes you the Scarlet Witch.
this is a first for 2 terms in the MCU: chaos magic, which is of course the type of magic Wanda uses in the comics, the reason she can chaotically rewrite the universe as a Nexus being, and then of course her basic superhero name, Scarlet Witch, never been said before in the MCU. And now it's in this interesting context, is being elevated as a kind of royal title that Agatha seeks. But why does Agatha want it? What does Agatha want? Well, again, Agatha seems to have lost someone she loves, and she's frustrated.
And
that
definitely
she can only
wasn't
do
her
basic
mother.
Spells like animal transmutation, while Wanda just has this innate power that she didn't really earn. And who would Agatha love? Well, as a witch of Salem, folks, read up on your history. It's not reaching to assume this witch would claim her spouse to be the devil. Yeah, folks.
Here we go.
Ship, right or wrong, because it's the best evidence we got. Here's my closing argument. Agatha's husband Ralph is Mephisto, aka Senor Scratchy the Rabbit, a reference to Old Scratch, a nickname for the devil. This rabbit is the best Agatha could do to bring him back using spells from the Darkhold. This is the rabbit, remember, she bragged as having star potential.
Senor Scratchy's got real star quality, don't you think?
It was his demonic protection that allowed Agatha to overthrow the Coven, but doing that broke his soul because Agatha was not the Scarlet Witch that he thought she was. She did not get the crown. And as in the West Coast Avengers comics, this series is now definitely based on, evidenced by White Vision. Mephisto's soul is broken in those comics. Agatha helps him manipulate Wanda using pieces of his soul to create Billy and Tommy, later shown to be hand puppets of Mephisto's minion. And now Agatha puppets these boys like marionettes on strings. And notice as she does this, her
No
fingers
strings on
turn
me.
black,
Ultron
suggesting that these illusions are
reference.
actually draining some of her life force. These kids were just called Demon Spawn, and that was not long after.
The devil's in the details, Bev.
That's not the only place he is.
What does Agatha want? She wants the Nexus powers of the Scarlet Witch. She was unable to
Ain't
get them
no
from her
strings
mother,
on
and she
me.
wants them now from Wanda so that she can repair Mephisto's soul. And together, they can rule the multiverse, a power that the rest of her coven thought no one should harness. I know. It seems like the Bettany cameo tease might have been just him trolling us, but I am gonna place my bets on Mephisto showing up in the finale. He's gonna be played by an actor so beloved, no one's gonna care that he's been off screen all season, or how weird it is that the MCU has Satan in it. And no, China censorship does not actually apply here. We did a whole video on why, check it out. So Mephisto, you are clear for landing. We are so close, and don't you dare pull a DB Cooper on us. Hey, you can support this channel by checking out one of our wonderful merch options at NewRockstarsMerch.com.
I love it, man. He's dying on that hill. He's dying on the Mephisto hill. I'm still saying somebody's behind the scenes, though. I'm less convinced that we're going to see them as a major plot point in the show, if not just like something we're going to see set up for maybe later. Because again, like I've said before, and like even they've said before, Mephisto's referenced or at least seen visually in the trailer for the Loki series, so it's still a possibility. I just don't think at this point in the with one episode to go, or two if you believe the people that thinks there's going to be a surprise 10th episode. I doubt that highly at this point. I just think that there's so many references, there's so many things, so many nods, and then of course her constant reference to this person, this Ralph, that I think my cat won't leave me alone today. That, I mean, there's gotta be somebody out there, though I don't think they're the big bad. I don't think they're orchestrating all of this. Either she's doing this, I mean, this is all stuff she's doing of her own volition, of her own accord. So this is her mission, I think. Her way of manipulating this situation to hopefully get what she wants out of it. Because initially she started this whole thing, and I've talked about this in the live stream, was that the way it interpreted, because her motivation shifted throughout the episode. At the beginning, before she knows what Wanda is, she's talking about, she wants to know how Wanda's able to do this, because she's genuinely curious, because she wants that power for herself. Wanda's untrained, unfocused, unknowledgeable in the arts of magic itself, and that's why it's confusing her how this is all being done. It's something that should be impossible to a novice, which Agatha clearly sees her as, despite her seeking this power, stealing from her coven, dabbling in the dark arts, which they said, and then draining the life force from her coven and her own mother for that same power. It seems like she was definitely more intrigued in and maybe he's right. Maybe she is trying to resurrect somebody or break somebody out of another dimension or do something for someone she's lost or someone she's trying to gain favor with. And to do that, she just doesn't think she's strong enough, and that's why she's doing these things. She seeks out more power through that, more than she's ready for, much like the Ancient One or Doctor Strange did by dabbling in the dark arts. And then moving forward from that, though she couldn't control it, she absorbed the powers of her coven. Her mother still didn't have the power she needed. She senses this giant magical event, which she calls out. She goes there. She finds Wanda, who has no idea what's going on, seemingly trapped in her own illusion until slowly she's woken up out of it as the series starts to progress. And after that, of course, we learned that Agnes was using Pietro as her eyes and ears to, again, try to goad Wanda and have her questions answered by having him probe. How did you do this? How did you even do this? What happened? And then she's doing that again here, trying to figure out and piece together, even like explaining and showcasing her own knowledge, but like, these are simple spells, whatever, and you don't even know these, and you're doing all this? How does that work? So that she takes her on this journey. She's like, okay, I'm starting to piece things together. Some things are starting to make sense. You performed a hex without really even knowing it. And then she's just like, okay, I got a theory, but I'm going to need some more answers. So we progress. And then finally, towards the end, when she finally realizes what type of magic Wanda's actually using, she transitions from a point of view of being curious and seeking that power for herself to being avidly and openly defensive. She's like, no. What you're doing shouldn't be happening. It's chaos magic. You're a threat. She's above trying to use Wanda at this point. I think at this point, she's in survival mode. And she's like, okay, I can't use you. You're this thing. You're a myth. You're not supposed to be real. Maybe she's jealous that she ended up being the Scarlet Witch and not her. Maybe she was hoping that one day she would turn out to be the Scarlet Witch herself. Or maybe she just believed it to be fake, something they had prophesized, thought it was a joke, didn't think it would ever happen. And then now she's got evidence of it, and she's afraid of that threat, finally something magical that might be able to overtop her abilities and her skills without any training. So I'm curious to see how that's going to go about. The Vision stuff is interesting. We've got a lot of interesting parallels. The whole puppeteering thing, I don't know if we're actually going to, it's definitely even though she's the one doing the puppeting with the strings she's got around the kids' necks, could that hint to Ultron, his personality persevering through this white vision? That seems to be a popular theory right now as well. That without Vision's compassion, the part of him that made him who he was, holding back that side of Ultron that existed prior, maybe this allows that segment, that half, the Ultron part of him to come through in this being. Or it's just going to be an apathetic, emotional machine, just thinking logic by numbers, doing as instructed, no compassion, and that's it. Just like a Terminator. It does what it's programmed to do. Since Vision's recreated in the Hex, will he be able to combine with the physical version of him to exist both inside and outside? Will he be able to reinsert himself into that shell, take it over, and then allow himself to be able to roam freely again? Is he going to die again at the end of this? Part of me feels like this is going to still have some type of a tragic end. Not sure who the cameo is going to be at this point. I have to imagine that Doctor Strange is going to show up, though I don't think he's going to be involved in the final battle. I think he might be a tease towards the end of the episode, maybe even a post-credits at this point. But if he shows up, that'd be interesting. We never got a resolution as to what happened at the end of last post-credit scene with Wanda and Pietro. It's still open that, he could actually be the Fox Quicksilver, because she didn't raise the dead. She didn't transform something else into him. She could have just summoned a visage, but maybe she's mind controlling it. maybe she's mind controlling him from somewhere else. I don't know. Pulled him from somewhere else and mind controlled him, and not knowing she actually summoned a version of him that actually exists, just not in this reality. I'm just hoping for that to not mean anything, because I would just feel like that's just, while it's kind of fan servicey, it would honestly just be a little bit of a waste. Without having just that confirmation. I mean, we know they own the rights to it now. We know that they are diving into the multiverse, so the multiverse exists. So just nodding to it and be like, we reused an actor when these things exist simultaneously. It's not supposed to set up. He doesn't even have to stay in this world. He doesn't have to be part of this continuity anymore. He just be a temporary thing pulled over. I just want to hear that. But even if that's not the case, while I'll be mildly disappointed, because I would feel like that's kind of a missed opportunity, it's not going to hurt my enjoyment of the series. I'm excited to just see how this unfurls, because I trust Kevin Feige. I trust that everybody working on this, that they'll give me a satisfying ending in the end. They've rarely ever let me down with any of these movies. And so far the show has been just doing exactly the same. I've been along for the ride. I've been on board for every twist and turn that they've given us. And while we have been kind of biting at every little crumb, hoping for things, theorizing, whatever, like, even if half of the stuff because so much things have been wrong up to this point, that I'm just like, I never really cared. I didn't have much investment in it, but I know there's a lot of people that do take these theories way too seriously. But yeah, just have fun and enjoy the show and enjoy the journey, because this last episode was fantastic. Maybe even my favorite episode in this whole season so far. It was so emotional, so well done, and it just put all the pieces together that it was just executed so perfectly. I adored this last episode, and it really showcased the range of emotions and just the overall talent that Elizabeth Olsen has. She's definitely the best Olsen twin. Well, she's not a twin, Olsen's sibling. As far as acting goes, she's phenomenal. I hope she gets some awards for this. I know superhero stuff doesn't tend to get too much love, especially on TV, but I think she deserves it. I think she's earned some stuff, especially with this. I'm curious what the long-standing effects is going to be. We got Pietro. I hope we get answers for. I hope we learn more about Agatha's goal, what her reason for actually coming here was. Was it just curiosity, or what was her end game with confronting the source of this magical aberration? Hope we figure out what happens with Hayward. I hope we figure out all of this. I can't wait, man. Next episode is going to be crazy. I do think that the next episode is going to be a little bit longer. I don't think it's going to be like no hour and a half like some people have been saying. I would be shocked and surprised if we actually got a 10th episode. I would have to schedule more vacation time so that I could cover it if that is the case, because I've only put in for this week's and next week. So I'm sure my boss will love that, but we'll see. I'm really open to seeing where this is all going to go, but yeah, I think there are some people out there that just need to relax a little bit, getting a little heated with everything. But yeah, anyway, guys, this has been another solid episode. If you are not subscribed to New Rockstars, what are you doing? Like, seriously, what are you doing? Go sub to them. Sub to them now. Anyway, guys, thank you all for tuning in. I will catch you guys in the next episode of WandaVision. Take care, everybody.